You will never understand Shigaraki until you learn the reason for his pain, his desire to destroy, and why he has to be saved. It all started 16 years ago with an ordinary family in an extraordinary world. Tinko's dad was a businessman, and at a young age, he grew a fortune so large that he was able to build a house big enough for his family and his wife's parents to live with them. But in that house, there was one rule. A rule that was absolute, that no one gets a pass for. But Tinko always broke it. One day, Tinko's sister Hana found a secret photo while snooping in their dad's office, and she wanted to show it to Tinko. It was a photo of their dad and grandmother, which revealed that the grandmother was actually a pro hero. Hana then told Tinko that in spite of what her dad says about heroes, she's on his side. And in hearing this, it gave Tinko so much hope and excitement for the future, not allowing a single second to go by without reminiscing at the fact that they had a real hero in their family. And he thought maybe it's possible for him too. Maybe he could finally follow his dream. Maybe he can really become...
Tenko! You went into my study?
Caused my ragged skin to sting.
What did you see?
Yes. Kids are sneaky.
Deku said that he had a secret to show me. I didn't know.
Heroes hurt those who love them!
In spite of the fact that he wanted to be the type of hero that's there for others when they're alone and suffering, no one was there for Tinko when he was alone and suffering. His mother and his grandparents never standing up for him, his sister abandoning him, and his father suppressing him, all because of heroes. In that moment, he lost everything. And that's when hatred grew within, leading to his quirk manifesting and him killing his entire family. Learning about what created this pain in Shigaraki is just the first step to truly understanding who he really is that would change how we see Tinko forever. After awakening his quirk and killing his family, Tinko ran away from home not knowing what to do. And the only thing he wanted was someone to help him. Guilt began to manifest in his heart for killing his family, creating more guilt and pain for himself. But he hoped that someone, anyone, would save him. And soon after, he found his savior. Unfortunately for him, the person who saved Tinko was All For One, the greatest villain in the world. He didn't know it at the time, but All For One had a goal of creating a vessel worthy of being the next All For One. And with adopting Tinko, All For One quickly realized that within him was an impulse to destroy that he couldn't control, and immediately knew that he could cultivate Tinko into being the symbol of fear, led by this destruction. In order for All For One's plan to work out, Tinko needed to keep the feeling of guilt and hatred for his family. He needed this itch to stay so that the feelings never fade. And due to the trauma and guilt that's created in what he did, Tinko eventually locked away the memories of his family deep in his soul. And because of this, he ended up losing all of his memory. His name, his family. The only thing he had was the feeling of hatred and murder, but not because of something he could remember, as if he was lost in his feelings. So All For One took advantage of this opportunity and expressed to the kid that his destructive impulses aren't necessarily a bad thing, and that he should be able to act as his heart commands, or else the itch that he has would never go away, and the only one to suffer would be the boy. So to celebrate the boy for embracing the destruction within himself, All For One gave him a new name. Tomura Shigaraki, a name that means to mourn death. And ever since that day, Tomura Shigaraki has been on the quest to destroy the world that he believes created him. But in the midst of this destruction, there's one thing he's always wanted, a secret that he kept from everyone. Tinko has to be saved. But that doesn't mean that Tinko will be saved by a hero. In My Hero Academia chapter 336, Shigaraki fought against Star and Stripe. In one of the most influential and epic fights in the series, Shigaraki ended up the victor of this fight. But the one thing this fight really did was expose the wound inside of All for Shigaraki. When Shigaraki stole Star and Stripe's quirk factor, she was able to rebel against every quirk in the All for One Vestige world. And although she put up a tough battle, the sheer volume of quirks in All for One overpowered her and destroyed her quirk factor. But the word she left before her quirk factor was diminished was that as long as people stand up to save each other, someone will inherit the will of heroism. And it's these words that opened up a wound deep inside All for Shigaraki's soul. A wound that held down Tinko. And All for One didn't notice it. Now the Star and Stripe fight wasn't just important for awakening Tinko, it was also important in learning why Shigaraki must be saved. In My Hero Academia chapter 364, the President of the United States was speaking to Commander Akbar about the fate of America, concluding that the United States as a whole will concede to the wishes of All for One and Shigaraki. But Commander Akbar disagreed and gave the speech that to this day invokes the truest theme of My Hero Academia. Do you know what Star was really fighting for? Why do you think Casey followed her idol's footsteps and died for it? I'm sure you haven't really forgotten. Children observe adults as they grow. Adults in turn support the children as they pass it forward, and so on to the next generation. Heroes have always rooted their power in the name of that cause. And crazily enough, Star and Stripe dies at the hand of the exact person who was never graced with what she was fighting for. Tinko wanted to be a hero just like All Might and just like his grandmother. He wanted to be a hero that can be there for others when they have no one to turn to, just like he was for Mikun and Tomo. But in the reality of his life, there was no support, no one to save him. The only person that was there for him was All for One, and that led Shigaraki to losing Tinko's memories and becoming the world's greatest villain. But here's the twist. Shigaraki actually knew what All for One was doing all along. In My Hero Academia chapter 379, Shigaraki revealed that he intentionally hid his own core deep into his soul, the core that held Tinko, because he didn't want to completely turn into a pawn that All for One was using. And bit by bit, without All for One noticing, Shigaraki unraveled his true origin to follow the path that he had for his inner self. However, he still makes it a point that he is indeed a villain, and his heart won't waver like the likes of Gentle Criminal and Lady Nagai, that Shigaraki only has one hope. This realization is insanely important because it forces us to ask questions. The most important being, what path did he originally plan for Tinko to follow? And this is where everything comes full circle. So listen to me. The entire fight between Deku and Shigaraki is a fight for Tinko, where Shigaraki is constantly trying to suppress Tinko while acting as if he truly wants to be a villain. If you think about it, if Shigaraki is truly okay with what he's doing and truly at ease with his feelings, why would he need to suppress himself? He's trying to protect himself. It's interesting that most of Tinko's pain came due to heroes. And because Tinko's pain came from those who are supposed to save, the only hope for Shigaraki is to save himself. Shigaraki's true plan is to destroy the world at large, and once the outside world is completely rid of everything that could bring harm to Tinko, including heroes and enemies alike, then Shigaraki will be able to let Tinko live freely. So Shigaraki wants to be the hero for himself, believing that if he just had the power to destroy anything and everything that could hurt his inner self, then everything would be okay. But the problem is, it won't be okay. His itch will never go away. His hatred will never go away. His anger will never go away. Because as Star and Stripe put it, heroism, the #1 hatred he has, will never go away. The only way that Shigaraki can save Tinko is by allowing a true hero to save him. And now I hope you understand Shigaraki.